punctuation. What is punctuation? What is it? Maddie, can you
It's like question mark. But it's one always at the end of the sentence.
3, 2, 1, check back. Okay, punctuation. I heard a couple of different definitions from just a few of you down here. But what else did you guys talk about? What's punctuation, Maddie?
Punctuation is at the end of a sentence. Like if I say I lost my cat, then I would be saying what kind. Then I would be having. I need to put a punctuation at the end.
I'm going to read it like a good bedtime story. You know how when your parents tell you a bedtime story?
Yeah.
Remember that Go Noodle video that we watched called Don't Read Like a Robot? When mom and dad read you a bedtime story, do they read it like a robot?
No.
No, they read it like a good bedtime story. So I'm going to read this to you, and I want you to notice how it sounds like a good bedtime story, okay? It's called Camping. My first trip to New Mexico was the best week ever. Maybe we can go there again soon. That was kind of hard for me to read, but can anybody think why that was probably hard for me to read? Brayden?
There's no punctuation.
There is no punctuation at all in this entire thing. Not one single teeny tiny little dot. But it sounded like it, right?
Yes.
What if I read it without? My first trip to New Mexico was the best week ever. I got to go swimming in a river every night. We slept on the ground in sleeping bags. We didn't stay in a tent or a cabin. I didn't get scared even when the bears came out at night. They came. What happens when there's no punctuation and you're trying to read? What's going to happen, Kaden?
It's hard for you to read when you read at the same time.
Yeah, and you don't know when to what, Grayson?
You don't know when to stop, and you can't like stop and take a breath.
You don't know when to stop, and it keeps things from making sense. In fact, I think I even made a little mistake in there. You might not have noticed, but no, because it sounded like there was. So what you guys are going to do, I'm going to give you and a partner this same little camping story. Excuse me. Stand down. And you and your partner are going to work together, and you are going to put punctuation in this story. One way that you could do that is any ideas for a way that you could do that? Instead of just sitting down and putting dots, what's an idea that you have for a way you could do this with your partner? Emery.
You can like read it, and then whenever you feel like you need to stop, you can put like a period there.
Okay. So if you and your partner are sharing a story, then maybe one person could do the reading and the other person could do the stopping maybe and saying, oh, I think we need a period there. Maybe. What happens if you disagree with your partner about where the period goes? Any ideas for how to troubleshoot that?
You could do rock, paper, scissors on where it goes if you don't agree on the same thing.
Maybe, but then what happens if you just sit there playing rock, paper, scissors for like 10 minutes? Is that a wise use of your time?
No.
Anybody have a different idea that might kind of get the job done a little bit quicker, Taylor?
You could read it again and see if one of them makes sense.
You could read it again and see if one of them makes sense. Remember, a period is like a stop sign. You stop your voice. My first trip, should I stop there or should I keep reading?
No, keep reading.
My first trip to New Mexico was, should I stop at was?
No.
No. So read it, yeah, exactly. Listening with your ears to what it sounds like, okay? So I've got partners. I've got copies of the story ready for you to go. And then I have, you guys can sit on the floor. I want you to use your notebooks as like clipboards. You don't have to get clipboards today. You can just use your notebook. When you and your partner think that you're finished adding punctuation to your story, there's 2 more stories you can go choose from if you want to challenge yourself and try and do another one. Okay? If you finish all the stories and I'm still working with a group or I'm still walking around helping people, then guess what you need to go and do in your writer's notebook? Any ideas?
Finish your story.
Well, but what do you think I want you to do with your, because you guys are working on your chapters of your informational book. What do you think I want you to look for today in your informational book, Carly?
Where you need to put the period.
Yeah, you need to go back in your own writing in your informational chapters, and you need to look for where you need to add punctuation. Maybe you want to read it to a partner that you've been working with to see if they can help you figure out where to add it. Okay? So, partners working on our camping story, adding in that punctuation together. If you finish, there's 2 more stories that you guys can read. So let's have a brief chat for a second. When I say the word punctuation, what am I talking about? And what else? Exclamation marks. Punctuation. I'm talking about
That's how you I got done swimming in the river every night.
We slept on the ground and sleeping
We're going to focus on today. We didn't stay in a tent. But there might be a spot where I didn't but today we're just going to focus on periods. Would you say it's better to have at least a period than nothing at all? Definitely. So let's start at the beginning and let's really listen and see if you think that there's a spot where we need to stop. I want you to raise your hand because I'm going to start reading it, okay? You do? Ethan, can you say that again so the whole group can hear? We do need to capitalize that first M in the beginning of the period. Makes sense. Can you swim in a river?
But not at night.
Well, you could, but let's keep reading and see if that every night part goes better with the next sentence. Every night we slept on the ground in sleeping bags. What do you think? Yeah, because you sleep at night, right? All right, let's have a quick check-in. If I could have everybody's eyes. Everybody's eyes. So my group down here on the floor, you're looking at me. So what are some ways, because my group down here, they were doing an awesome job at telling me where they think that we needed to stop. But every now and then we would say, well, I think we need to put a period here. What is the best way to check to see if you put the period in the right place? What's the best way to check and see?
Read it again.
Read it again. With your eyes?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, of course you have to use your eyes to read, but what's the best way to know?
To read it out loud and see if that sounds good.
To read it out loud to yourself, or to have your partner read it to you, or to read to your partner, because you need to be listening to what it sounds like, okay? So reading with our ears and not just our eyes, because you know what? When you're looking at something and you've looked at it and you've looked at it and you've looked at it, it's probably going to look just fine. But when you're listening, it's going to change the way that you see it. Yes, ma'am?
After every period, you put a capital.
And yes, after the periods, you do need to put a capital. But first you got to check to make sure that period is the right spot. You don't want to just put it anywhere. Okay? So you guys are doing an awesome job with your partner work. We're going to come back in just a little while and just kind of see how we did. But I do want for you guys, I haven't gotten a check-in with these friends right here, but from what I can see, you guys are on the right track. I do want you guys to spend time in your own writing, though, looking for that punctuation and where you think you need to add it. So I am going to ask that if you have finished at least one of the stories, for you to go ahead and go back to your own writing, your chapters that you're working on in your writer's notebook, and I want you to start looking and listening for where you need to be adding your punctuation. And you can continue to be on the floor as long as you are on task and doing what I have asked you to do. I don't mind if you're on the floor. That's fine with me.
Can we do a podcast?